You unlock your phone. Nothing is happening. No message. No missed call. No tiny red dot screaming for your attention. Just the same home screen you saw 12 seconds ago. So you lock it again. And then, a minute later, you check it again. This is one of the strangest normal things we do. We reach for a device that has not asked for us. We check apps that have not changed. We refresh pages that have no reason to refresh. As if our phone might suddenly say, "Thank you for your patience, here is the meaning of life." But most of the time, there is nothing there. And somehow, nothing is exactly what keeps us checking. The weird part is not that phones are interesting. Of course they are interesting. They contain friends, work, money, maps, music, photos, news, strangers, arguments, and one video of a raccoon washing grapes. The weird part is that we check them when we already know there is probably nothing new. We are not always looking for information. Sometimes we are looking for a feeling. So why do we keep checking our phones for no reason? The first reason is simple. Your phone has trained your brain to expect tiny surprises, not big surprises, not life-changing surprises. Tiny ones. A message, a like, a reply, a new comment, a discount, a weird headline, a notification from an app you forgot you installed. Very important news from the weather app. Outside still exists. The trick is that these little rewards do not arrive on a schedule. Sometimes you check and there is nothing. Sometimes you check and there is something. And because you never fully know, the checking becomes strangely sticky. Your brain is not saying, "This will definitely be rewarding." It is saying, "Maybe." And maybe is one of the most addictive words in the human brain. This is why the empty check still matters. You are not checking because the phone is giving you something every time. You are checking because once in a while, it does. It is like opening the fridge when you are not hungry. You already know what is inside, but you still look. Maybe the cheese has developed a personality since lunch. The phone is the same. You know what apps are there. You know what usually happens. But there is always a tiny chance that something has changed. You are not checking the phone. You are checking possibility. But that is only the surface. Because a lot of phone checking does not happen when we are excited. It happens when we are uncomfortable, waiting in line, sitting alone before a meeting, standing in an elevator with another human being, having 3 seconds where nobody is asking anything from us, a dangerous amount of silence. The phone gives us somewhere to put ourselves. It gives our hands a job. It gives our eyes a destination. It gives our brain a small task that does not ask too much. And that can feel like relief. Sometimes we check our phones not because we want stimulation, but because we want to escape the tiny awkwardness of being unoccupied. This is why the phone comes out during small gaps. Not big free time. Tiny free time. 30 seconds before the microwave beeps. 14 seconds while the elevator arrives. 1 minute before someone joins the video call. Half a red light even though we really should not. These gaps used to be nothing. Just little empty spaces in the day. Now they feel oddly exposed. Like if nothing is happening, something is wrong. So we fill the space before we can feel it. The phone becomes a plug for every tiny leak of boredom. And boredom is stranger than it sounds. Boredom is not just having nothing to do. It is the feeling that whatever is available does not feel worth doing. You could sit quietly. You could notice the room. You could let your mind wander. Horrifying options apparently. The phone offers a cleaner solution. It says, "Here. Have something. Anything. A headline, a meme, a stranger's opinion about a sandwich." It does not have to be good. It just has to be enough to avoid the quiet. We do not always check our phones because they are satisfying. We check them because they are available faster than our discomfort can arrive. Then there is the emotional layer. Because the phone is not just a machine. It is a social radar. It tells us if someone thought of us. It tells us if we are needed. It tells us if we have been included, ignored, answered, liked, tagged, invited, or forgotten. That sounds dramatic. But in daily life, it is very small. You send a message. No reply yet. You check. Still no reply. You check again. Because maybe the first check was not emotionally accurate. Nothing has changed on the screen. But something is happening inside you. The phone becomes a tiny courtroom where you keep checking if you still matter. This is not only about romance or friendship. It happens with work too. You check email after hours. You check Slack when you are already tired. You check notifications from people you do not even want to hear from. Not because you love the message, but because not knowing feels worse. The phone gives you the illusion of staying ahead. If something is wrong, you will know. If someone needs you, you will know. If the world changes, you will know. Because apparently the world is managed through a glass rectangle in your pocket. Checking becomes a way to reduce uncertainty even when it creates more of it. And this is where the social part gets heavier. We live in a culture where being reachable looks responsible. Fast replies look caring. Fast reactions look engaged. Fast awareness looks smart. So the phone is not just tempting. It feels like a duty. Reply quickly. See the update. Catch the trend. Know the joke. Answer the group chat. Read the email. Be online but not too online. A normal and peaceful way to exist. The pressure is subtle. Nobody has to stand next to you and say, check your phone. The expectation is already inside the room. We check because being unavailable now feels like a small social risk. This changes the meaning of silence. Silence used to mean nothing happened. Now silence can feel like missing something. A message you did not answer. A post everyone saw before you. A joke that moved on without you. A work problem quietly growing in the background. So we check to stay connected. But the connection is often thin. A quick scroll. A half-read notification. A reply typed while doing something else. Deep human bonding, but with worse posture. The phone promises connection, but often gives us contact without closeness. Then comes the weirdest part. Sometimes we check our phones because we do not know what we want next. You finish one task. You stand in the kitchen. You have a free evening. Nobody is stopping you from doing something nice. And somehow, that freedom feels slightly annoying. So you check your phone, not because the phone is the best option, but because it is the easiest option. The phone answers a question before you have to ask it. What should I do with myself right now? This is why checking can feel automatic. It saves us from choosing. Choosing takes effort. Resting takes permission. Starting something takes energy. But checking takes almost nothing. You do not have to decide to watch a movie. You do not have to decide to call someone. You do not have to decide to clean the kitchen, which is good, because nobody wanted that plot twist. You just open the screen, and the next few minutes are decided for you. The phone is not only entertainment, it is decision avoidance with icons. But there is another personal reason. Sometimes the phone protects us from noticing how we feel. Not in a huge dramatic way. In a small Tuesday evening way. You are tired. You are lonely. You are restless. You are disappointed with how little you did today. You are not ready to think about tomorrow. So your hand reaches for the phone before any of that becomes clear. Very efficient emotional management. A feed appears. A video starts. A comment section opens. And for a moment, you do not have to be alone with the feeling. The phone does not solve the emotion. It just puts a screen between you and it. That is why checking can feel both comforting and unsatisfying. It gives relief, but not resolution. It gives movement, but not direction. It gives input, but not always meaning. So, you check again, not because the last check worked, but because it almost worked, and almost is enough to keep the loop alive. So what do we do with this? Not in a dramatic way. Not with a 12-step plan, a monk routine, and a wooden box where your phone goes to think about its actions. The point is not that phones are evil. The point is that the checking usually means something. It might mean you are bored. It might mean you are waiting for reassurance. It might mean you feel socially on call. It might mean you are avoiding a decision. It might mean you are tired and your brain wants the cheapest possible escape. The useful question is not, why am I so weak? The useful question is, what am I trying not to feel for the next 10 seconds? That question changes the whole thing. Because now the phone is not just a bad habit, it is a clue. When you check it in the middle of work, maybe you are looking for relief. When you check it while resting, maybe rest feels undeserved. When you check it after sending a message, maybe you are looking for proof that you have not been forgotten. When you check it in silence, maybe silence has started to feel suspicious. Which is rude, because silence was here first. The phone is often not the problem at the center. It is the place where the problem becomes visible. Maybe the goal is not to never check your phone. That would be unrealistic for most people. Also, your bank, your job, your friends, your map, and your grocery list are all in there. We built a society where losing your phone feels like losing a small government. But maybe there is value in noticing the moment before the check. That tiny reach. That little itch. That half second where your hand moves before your mind explains why. Because in that moment, there is usually a reason. It just may not be the reason you think. Maybe you are not addicted to your phone in the simple way people say. Maybe you are addicted to interruption, to possibility, to reassurance, to having a tiny escape hatch from every uncomfortable second. The phone is very good at that. It is a boredom machine, a social machine, a distraction machine, a little pocket-sized answer to feelings we did not fully ask. And occasionally, yes, also a calculator. That is the weird reason we keep checking it for no reason. There usually is a reason. It is just not on the screen. If this made you look at your phone differently, that is basically the whole point of this channel. The weird reason is about the strange little things humans do every day and the simple reasons hiding underneath them. If you want more calm explanations of weird everyday behavior, you can subscribe. And maybe check your phone after the video ends. You know, for research.